You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel.
I've always had a thing about tracks. As a kid, I used to have this dream about being an escaped prisoner. I was being tracked through the marshes by guards and angry dogs. It's funny how your real criminal types are seldom taxed with nightmares of this kind. Then I discovered tracks. Almost as soon as I saw those gleaming steel rails, I fell in love. To me, the most beautiful sight in the world is looking out the train window at the adjacent rails, seeing them scurry into a stroboscopic fuzz, watching them merge, then part ways in a mad mating dance.
Press your ear to the rail. Episode 2. Track.
Picks, shovels. We need a drill, obviously, to drill the sleepers with. Crowbars. It's all heavy kit. So we have to get it out, put it on the train, load up, and go to the job.
I'll never forget that day. We were out on the line, the permanent weight crew as we're called, doing our usual track inspections and replacing a few old sleepers. It was bitter cold. Despite a biting wind blowing in off the creek, every breath hung in the air like a translucent balloon at a kiddie's party. The earth was near frozen and the very devil to dig. All the same, work is work, and we pride ourselves in going out in all weathers. If the entire country ground to a halt every time there was a spot of rain or the old thermometer dropped below zero, where would we be, eh? As we were digging out the ballast and compacted clinker from beneath a rotten sleeper, Bert's pickaxe hit something solid. You could hear it halfway down the track. The metal rang like a bell. And the shaft of the axe gave Bert's wrists a right shake-up. "What do you got there, Bert?" I asked. "Buried treasure?" What we found, buried in that cold, cold earth, would make a grown adult shudder and a less than sober person fall off their chair. All I know is every hair on the back of my head stood up on end, even though there ain't so many hairs left now. And to think as a youth I had hair down to my cheeks and played the sitar with my bare teeth. What we found was a body, a human body, frozen into a thick rectangle of ice.
Foul play!
Shouted Fred.
Let's call the coppers!
Wait, hang on a second.
Said Bert.
This body's been here at least since the 1960s.
Since when have you been running CSI?
Says Fred.
How can you tell how long it's lain there?
Looking again, I saw what Bert, sharp as a pinball, had spotted. The body, perfectly preserved, was clad in a Bowaters uniform. The bird and arrow logo and the style of clothing told of that far-off time.
Poor mucker. Most likely froze to death in the terrible winter of 1963, the coldest on record. It's said that the Weetabix froze on the end of people's spoons.
Not only that,
Said Fred.
the Straits of Dover almost froze over. Imagine that. England would have been joined to France for the first time in 10,000 years. Eric Cantona would have had a field day. How do you suppose he got here?
Well, most likely his loco broke down in a blizzard and he wandered off up the tracks to get some help. On the way, he must have succumbed to hypothermia.
What a way to go, said I. What we do, Bert? We can't just leave him here.
True enough. Let's load him onto the ballast wagon. We can drop him off when we get back. He deserves a decent burial if nothing else.
Maybe they'll let us bury him in the garden, next to that beautiful blackthorn tree.
Oh, I don't know about that, Fred. You can't just go burying people all over the shop.
All this time, the eyes of the bloke encased in the ice looked out at us. It gave me a creepy feeling like we were being stared at.
Daniel and Jim have wandered off down the track to tap a few sleepers. They'll be listening out for the telltale sounds that tell you if the sleeper needs replacing.
A fine honourable tradition of the railroad is sleeper tapping to see whether your sleepers on the railroad are in good condition, or else some of these sleepers, they sit in the earth, so they absorb a lot of moisture over time. The sleepers decay, and we've seen a few along the way, haven't we, Daniel, that looked a bit worse for wear?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So it'd be interesting to see the difference in sounds from some of the ones that look good, some of the new ones, to some of the ones that actually look quite rough.
Right, Daniel's just swept the loose ballast off the top of the sleeper so he can get a good, clean, uncluttered surface to strike with the hammer. This is brand new rail. Let's see if we can tap it without smashing it. We don't even need to tap this one, because visually we can see there seems to be...
A whole section missing with gravel and looks like some sort of blackberry type bush trying to grow through it.
Well, I should come back in autumn and help myself to some of these delicious blackberries. But before then, should we just have a tap of this rail as a comparison? What's your opinion?
Definitely rotten, I think.
My next idea would be to get a team of woodpeckers down here to do this rail tapping.
Yeah.
After all, they're the experts.
Yeah, we probably are. Probably get quite a nice tap from them.
I'll bet.
That afternoon, the day's work done, we loaded up our tools on the wagon and gently chugged back to Kemsley Down, pushed by our faithful diesel Victor. We dropped the body off, still frozen solid in its block of ice, at the office, and headed to the cafe for a nice steaming mug of tea. Just the thing to warm the hands after a day spent breaking icicles off the end of your nose. Unfortunately, we didn't notice we'd left the heater on in the office. When we popped back, the ice block had melted and the body was gone. All that remained was the driver's hat with its distinctive Bowaters crest and a massive pool of water.
Liz'll be furious,
Said Fred.
You've soaked one of her maps.
Less out of you, mate.
Said Bert.
We're all in this together. We's like the musketeers, without the muskets.
We followed the driver's tracks, plainly visible in the thick snow, out across the yard to the fence. The footprints continued on the other side, and out across Milton Creek, out towards Merston, where they vanished into the thick silvery mud that gets exposed at low tide.
How did he get over the fence?
Asked Fred.
He passed through it like it wasn't there.
Well, it's a queer old business for sure.
Said Bert, shaking his head gravely. The driver's cap sits in our museum now, an eerie reminder of that day when Bert's axe struck ice. When I think of it now, I can't help myself, but an icy shiver passes right down my spine.
I'm afraid the only mechanisation we've got is an electric drill, 110 volts. That's it. The rest of it is us doing the shoveling.